Hey friends, this is Daniel, and today I kind of wanted to go over the kind of basic points of what makes a Wiccan, as opposed to another type of pagan or witch or whatever. And so I kind of basically wrote down 6 basic points for what Wicca kind of is, like what makes your practice a Wiccan practice opposed to simply a generic witch practice or pagan practice or whatever. It should be noted that these are my personal views. I just want to do this because a lot of people, why Wicca has become an umbrella term. Wicca isn't whatever we want it to be. And so some people would probably include more points or maybe even less points, but these are kind of what I would say. The first basic point is there is an acknowledgement of the sacred masculine and feminine, the Lord, Lady, the God, the Goddess. This varies about how this is done, and the names used for this is different from tradition to tradition. So some traditions have a secret name for a goddess and a god, or something like goddess. Some traditions work primarily with the goddess and only acknowledge the god, while other ones are more, balanced. Even the beliefs about the god or goddess is different. Like some Wiccans are almost monotheists in believing that there's one universal force. Some are more duotheists, thinking all gods are one god and all goddesses are one god. Other Wiccans are more polytheistic, believing in multiple deities. It will vary from Wiccan to Wiccan. The next one is working with the cycles of nature. So this would be maybe more the traditional eightfold wheel of the year that you see in Wicca. For others, the full moons. For other peoples, it would be different because it's a nature-based thing. So it would be based on where you live. So, the cycles of nature would be different. So the celebration of the natural cycles of nature. The third point I would say is Wicca has a basic ritual format. So I'll give you kind of like an example. Like in a Wiccan ritual, you would cast a circle, you would call the 4 directions, you would have some kind of invocation, you'd have some kind of main ritual spell, you'd have some kind of blessing of cakes and ale, wine, you'd have some kind of benediction to the deities, some thanking the deities, releasing of the directions, and some kind of releasing of the circle. Then kind of basic points. So Wicca has a basic layout of ritual, and these can be condensed or expanded upon based on the individual Wiccan, but they kind of have this basic format. Another basic thing is a Wiccan would have a strong moral code and belief in personal responsibility. That moral code will vary from Wiccan to Wiccan. For some Wiccans, it's based on things like the Wiccan Rede or the Threefold Law. Other Wiccans don't believe that. They have their own. Maybe the moral code's based on the charge of the goddess or some other personal code or something that they're traditional or coven would. There's a belief in responsibility for action. So some people would be reincarnation would fall into that, others ones that would not. The idea that there was some kind of responsibility, we have to take responsibility for our actions and somehow. The next point would be there is a magical worldview. So spellcraft, talismans, potions, candles, things of that nature. That's not saying that every Wiccan is a witch and every witch is a Wiccan or anything. It's just saying that Wicca is a magical religion. So magic plays a part in Wicca, even if it's not the primary part. So Wiccans do cast spells. They do, they work with the idea that there is an energy force or magic, whether they use that force or not as a personal preference. So why most Wiccans would proudly call themselves witches, certainly not all would, and most witches I know probably wouldn't necessarily call themselves a Wiccan. But Wicca is a magical worldview, and witchcraft is a part of Wicca. Not the only part, but it is part. And another one would be a connection to the ancestors in the other world. So there is a connection to the idea that there is this world beyond ours. So for some Wiccans, the energies of the 4 directions and things of that nature may be acknowledged. The elementors, angels, watchtowers. This could also be literally your blood ancestors. There is the idea of a spiritual ancestor. So for some traditions, they have what they call a lineage that traces it back from the founder of the tradition, so they know who taught who, all the way back to whoever began that Wiccan tradition. Wicca began in the 50s or 60s, but it has there are people who, the idea is that you're honoring the people who came before you. So even if you're not connected to a tradition, you're still honoring that there are people who helped build modern Wicca since the 40s and 50s, and bringing it to the world. So then like basic 6 points are really what makes Wicca Wicca, in my opinion. And a lot of people you can expand on all those points. And Wicca is really not so much necessarily about belief as is about practice. So Wiccans have a very wide spectrum of beliefs, but the practice and some basic stuff kind of stays the same. But it allows for a lot of personal freedom. But that personal freedom has been abused by Wiccans in the past. Many Wiccans have culturally appropriated and taken things from cultures that didn't belong to them, and they have done harmful things. So there are harmful practices there that can be done as a Wiccan, but them practices that are harmful aren't necessarily Wiccan. That's that individual person's choice to do those kind of things. So it's, again, you have to take responsibility for your own actions. So you would have to decide what would be right and wrong in that situation. I'm not going to judge other people's practice. I can only worry about my own. So that's what I'm going to do. And like I said, these are just kind of my basic what is or is not fall under that umbrella term of Wicca, because Wicca is a very diverse term. It's not just one thing. There's lots of different traditions of Wicca. There's lots of different expressions of that. Some are very initiatory based, mystery religion based. Others are more neo-pagan based, very new agey based. Again, it's going to be like I've met Wiccans who practice probably looks more like folkloric witchcraft, and I've met Wiccans that practice looks more like a new age practice. It's going to be very different from individual person, but these basic points are kind of what highlights that. So when I say Wicca, that's what I mean. So I just wanted to clarify, because I think it's important to understand what we mean by the terms that we're using. So if I say Wiccan or Wicca, that's what I'm talking about. Someone else, maybe when they say Wicca or Wicca, may be talking about something completely different, because again, it has become this umbrella term that encompassed a lot of different practices and beliefs and have lots of different histories and stuff. So what's true for one may not be necessarily true for others, but these points kind of give me of like what I have familiar with other people or don't have, in common with them. It's going to be very different. So these are kind of what I mean when I say Wicca and Wiccan. Many blessings, my friends.